would know about the National Development Plan, Mzansi Golden Economy, the revised white paper on arts, culture and heritage. So we had to get together and have a conversation about what do we want to happen from a long point of view and how do we contribute.
Let's talk about the value of that conversation very quickly, because a lot of filmmakers have been saying it's just another talk shop. It's a bunch of emotional people coming together and talking about a very emotive issue. How are you feeling about the skepticism around Indaba?
Well, it's fair enough, because the reality is there has been quite a lot of, Indabas, and quite a lot of things have been spoken about. And one of the things that we do recognize is that none of the issues that we were dealing with we knew. So it was very important for us to set a very specific agenda to make sure that let's not just talk about things that we already know about. We know what the challenges are, we know what we need to do. So the whole idea of getting together is let's come up with concrete recommendations so that from an NFVF point of view, we are able to go back, follow up with the relevant departments, get the necessary buy-in from the other players within the industry so that we are able to go forward, because the reality is that we all know what the issues are. It's all about, doing something about it.
Shirley, let me bring you in from our Cape Town studios. We all know what the issues are, and yet at every Indaba, every conversation around the creative economy, people still leave those conversations unhappy. What are we doing wrong in these conversations?
Well, I think that there needs to be a more integrated approach, and that more people should be able to attend these Indabas, for example. I would have loved to have been there. I think there's representation that's missing from the various sectors in our country, and more discussion needs to happen. The same people tend to attend these things all the time.
Afeli, what are some of the key issues? I mean, I know they keep on coming up, but what were some of the key issues at this Indaba that was highlighted once again?
The one thing that was highlighted was the fact that all the players recognize that we need more funding for the industry, and specifically development, because yes, there's a lot of, there's a DTI incentive for, for the production, and NFVF does put a lot of money into production and other spheres, but the reality is we're the only ones who are really putting in money into development, and it's not enough. So I think that was one thing that almost everybody at the table agreed that we definitely need to do something about, and we're quite excited that, the Minister of Arts and Culture did speak to the fact that there's going to be a separate film fund, as opposed to the creative industries fund that will be for all sectors across the board. But we will have our own standalone film fund, which will encompass all other pots of funding that sit with various departments. Put it all together so that we make it easy for the filmmakers to access that money, and I think that will definitely make a difference.
Talk to me about the announcement for the people with disability funding. How did that come about?
Well, we had a contact with the ministry, and we had a proposal from filmmakers with disabilities where a few things were highlighted, things around the fact that NFVF, for instance, we offer training, but there isn't interpreters for sign language and so forth. And obviously the reality is that we need to give an opportunity for people with disabilities to tell their own stories as well. So that project we're excited about, because it is female filmmakers, and it's going to be it's something that will cover the 9 provinces. So we felt that as a government agency as a government agency, it's definitely something that we would like to support. 1.5 million has been set aside for the production of a documentary,
which is available immediately.
Yes, it is available immediately.
Shirley, let's bring you into this conversation. How do you feel about this announcement?
I'm extremely excited about this announcement. I think it's wonderful, and it's a long time coming. I'm a filmmaker with a disability, and it has been a real struggle. It's a long, hard road. You're not part of the mainstream. You don't access the same opportunities. So I really commend the NFVF on taking this initiative to ensure that filmmakers with disabilities can also be part of the industry itself, and the development is extremely important because very few of us have had the opportunity to have any training.
Shirley, I mean, 1.5 available immediately. It's something towards, I think, something that's been a problem for a very, very long time. But I've also spoken to filmmakers a lot, and they talk about the process being cumbersome to access the money.
Yes, it can be a cumbersome process because you have to reach certain targets in order to access the next tranche. And I understand why the NFVF does have to do that. But sometimes bureaucracy gets in the way of actually being able to make the work. So I'm hoping that the NFVF themselves will have more support for the very important work that they do, to maybe employ more staff or ensure that the processes become easier for the filmmakers.
Fairly very quickly from your reaction to that? Processes, making sure it's easier for filmmakers with disabilities to access money?
Definitely, we're on board with that, and we'll give them all the support that they need.
Guys, we're going to leave it there. Pleasure talking to you. That, of course, is Feli Makonya, who's the NFVF Head of Policy and Research at the National Film and Video Foundation. Then, of course, we spoke to Shelley Berry, who's a filmmaker, joining us from our Cape Town studios. We take an ad break. You don't go anywhere.